Hello guys and welcome to class. What I want you to do right now for the attendance question is you see the two pictures that are on the screen. I want you to create a character who either lives in one of these places or is somehow close to one of these places, knows someone who lives there, has this picture on your wall, whatever. Create a character who belongs in that world. Okay. I'm just looking your character description. So all I'm looking for is things like the characters, maybe their name. You might want to look at their personality, the things that they like, what they look like, their goals that they might have, those kinds of things. You'll have about 5 minutes to do this. I want you to work on writing it the whole time. At the end of the time, I'm going to have everyone post it all at once, but I want you to use the whole 5 minutes to write your character, to come up with this character. All right, so you're going to make it up. You're completely making it up. It's a part of this creative writing. So Elijah, don't post it yet. I want you to write for the whole 5 minutes. So you're probably going to have everyone's probably going to have a decent chunk for the whole thing. You are going to send it to everyone eventually, but I don't want you to post it yet. It can be the same for each one, or you can just choose one picture to write about if you want. Yeah, so Elijah, don't post it yet. I want you to keep writing for the whole time. So I want you to expand on what you have. So I want you to, Elijah, I want you to keep writing for the whole time. In other words, expand on what you have. You have about a minute or so left at this point. Okay, at this point, I want everyone to post what they have, but I want you to post it in a way that everyone can see. So post it to everyone in the chat. So post what you have, but post it to everyone. Yeah, so make sure you post it to everyone. So a couple people, Giacomo, she may make sure you post so everyone can see. It doesn't have to be done. So even if you're in the middle of a sentence, just go ahead and post what you have. Oh, okay. Sorry, Giacomo. Hmm. Very good, guys. Very good. And you can continue to post if you haven't yet gotten yours posted yet. Good. I want to point out. I mean, I skimmed through a couple of these. Great job, guys. But I do want to point out how. I mean, we were each looking at the same pictures, and yet look at how many different ideas we came up with. There are so many different ideas in the world, and we have the ability as people to use our. We have this creativity, and we can come up with. We can use our creativity to come up with a lot of random ideas. I think it's really cool how God, who is like the creator of the whole universe, right? Created everything, has this massive, amazing creative power. And when he created human beings, he created us in his image, in his likeness. And one of the ways in which we are like God is that we have creativity. We have the ability to look at things and create something new. Now, we can't create something from nothing, but what we can do is come up with a bunch of ideas and different things, which I think is amazing. The way that, God has made us each fearfully and wonderfully made so that we can be creative like that. And I know a lot of you are probably wondering, hey, Miss, I am not planning on being an author. So why do I have to study creative writing? Like, what am I ever going to use this for? And my answer to you is the same as my answer to people who ask why they have to study higher math or, why they need to know, physics or something like that. Even if you're never going to use it in your life, in your professional life, in your vocation, or in your personal life somehow, what you will use is this way of thinking. So we're studying, as we study creative writing, as we work on creative writing, we're studying how to do, oh yeah, Rebecca, that's fine. We're studying how to think creatively. We're studying how to think outside the box. And that's a useful method of thinking. So even if you are, someday you get a job as a mathematician or a chemist or something like that, you will still use creative thinking to solve problems. So we use a lot of that creativity in our everyday lives. And that's what we're training our brains to do. We're training us to think creatively. Same way that you take a higher level math class to train your brain to think logically. All right, that's the same thing we're doing with it. All right, so that's that. All right, we are going to come back to this character description that you've created. So we're going to end class with this character description. For now, though, let's move on to a couple of reminders and things. First off, I'm going to pray, and then I have a couple of announcements. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for this class, for these students. Help us today as we study and learn that this would be a profitable time. Thank you for the creativity that you've endowed each one of them with. Help them to have the words to say, to spit those ideas out on the page. In your name, amen. Okay, a couple of announcements. First off, the new homework passes are up and available there for you to use if you would like. I do still have to put up the passes from the book reports. That's on my list of things to do this afternoon. However, I also have to I also will have to remind you how these homework passes work. So for example, if you have an assignment that's worth 15 or fewer points, you can use a homework pass on that assignment to make that assignment disappear, like it no longer exists for you. If you have an assignment that's worth more than 15 points, you can use a homework assignment to push the due date of that assignment back by 3 days. You use a homework assignment by emailing me and saying, Ms. Snoopson, I would like to use a homework pass for this assignment, and then I let you, or I don't let you. A couple people, someone has asked in the chat, can we use homework passes from last quarter? Like if I didn't use my last quarter homework pass, can I still use it? Yes, they are cumulative. So some of you will have 2 homework passes if you didn't use yours last year. The list of homework passes that are available are on Schoology. So yeah, if for the whole yak story, the one that's worth 100 points, it would extend the due date. For the homework pass, for the assignment that's due tomorrow, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, it would just, it would make it not exist for you because it's a smaller assignment. All right, I also want to talk about AB schedule, expectations for English class. So we talked yesterday roughly about what AB schedule means. Today I want to talk about what that looks like specifically for English class. So if you are online for the day, so either you're online for the whole semester or you're an A scheduled person and it's a Tuesday. So you're online for a day. How do you do school? Well, the answer is it looks pretty much like it. Log on to Zoom. There'll be an attendance question on the screen. You complete that attendance question and then you wait for further instructions. Looks the same. The difference is when you first come in, I won't be there to say like, hi guys, please get started on the attendance question. You just need to get started on it. So you need to just get started and work on that. The other thing is the chat participation grades will all work pretty much the exact same as they have. You can put questions and things in the chat. You can put comments in the chat, answers to questions in the chat. That's where all of that stuff goes. You are getting graded on your participation in the chat each day when you're online. However, the one difference with it is I'm not sure, based on what I've been playing around with so far, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to have the chat on my iPad at the same time that I am screen sharing to the projector and logged into the Zoom thing so it can be a microphone. I'm not sure if I can do all 3 of those at the same time. So far, I haven't figured out a way. So I won't be able to look at the chat the whole time. However, it will be on my school computer and I will be going back and forth to that computer a lot to double check on it, to check on the chat and see what's going on. So I will pay attention to it, but I will have that. Elijah, you can't use a homework pass on an assignment from last quarter. No, those grades are already finalized. As far as my video goes, I also found out that I can't really have my video particularly going the whole time. I'm going to try, I'm going to see what happens, but I might not be able to have video. I will be able to share the PowerPoint screen. So that will be shared and my voice will be shared for sure. The video is iffy. I don't know. If you're in person, what does it look like? Well, you show up to class, you wait outside the classroom until I let you in, just so that if I have any sanitizing or setting up of something that needs to be done, I can do that. Then when you come in, you'll take a Clorox wipe, sanitize your desk, and then there'll be an attendance question up on the board, or maybe it'll say, take the quiz, pick up a quiz and take the quiz, in which case that's the first thing you'll do, is you'll take that quiz or you'll do the attendance question. All right, once you're done with that, you'll just wait for further instructions. The basic things for the class period are you do have to stay in your desk so that we can stay exactly 6 feet away from each other all the time. And you will also need to try not to touch stuff as much as possible. I mean, there are some things that you just have to touch, but other things you don't need to. All right, any questions about what the day looks like? All right. Next thing I want to talk about is spelling bee participants. So this is just a reminder. So if you signed up for the spelling bee, I'm just going to read your name right now so that you can know that, hey, that's you. So you need to take the spelling bee quiz or test today or tomorrow, today or tomorrow. You do want to make sure that maybe your your account, that you've changed the time zone on your account so that it actually shows up as being open. And I wouldn't wait too long until tomorrow to take it, because I think the spelling bee thing is on US time, so it might end earlier than you mean for it to end. But here's the people who need to take it, or who signed up. Sorry, so Roger, Bella, Mariana, Eureka, Sienna, Fernando, Ben, Helen, Kai Anderson, Yuji, Sunny, Chantel, Chanju, Eric, Zunayad, and Sienna. Right. Any questions? Yeah. Oh, good question. So someone has asked, when we are in person for the attendance question, do we do that on a piece of paper or on our iPad? Honestly, you can do either one. You can do either one with that. A lot of our stuff, homework will all be turned in online still, but stuff we do in class, unless I'm actually collecting a paper, which I'll let you know, you can also just do the thing online. Yeah, there are lots of people who signed up for the spelling bee. All right, next, our goals for today is we're going to write a story that uses showing details, as well as we're going to talk about conflict and how to include a story that uses conflict. Our homework is you need to submit a story to turnitin.com. Now, let me talk about this because it's a lot easier than it sounds. So you need to submit, your story that you submit needs to be 200 words or longer. So the minimum is 200 words. The story itself, though, the grammar doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect. The formatting doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect. Your story itself does not have to make that much sense. The one thing you need to do, oh, Eureka, yes. The one thing that you do need to do with the story is that you have to have showing details, and it has to be 200 words or more. That's the only thing I'm grading it on. The story doesn't have to be the story you're using for Yak. In fact, the story should be about the prompt that we started working on at the beginning of class. That's the one you're submitting. So we started with a character. I'm going to talk about conflict. We're going to talk about showing. And then at the end of class, we're going to work on writing a story for that prompt. And that's what you'll turn in. So it doesn't have to be beautiful. I'm not, it's a first try. And it doesn't have to end up being your Yak story. Now, if you decide you're halfway through writing this and you're like, you know what, I actually really like this idea, then by all means, you can definitely use it for your Yak, but you don't have to. So it's just kind of a rough draft. Think of it as a very rough draft type of a story. Okay, but submitted to turnitin.com by class time tomorrow. Well, on turnitin.com, it will say by 8:15 a.m., but I'm not counting it late until class time. I just couldn't change the due time to be different times per different classes. So don't freak out about it too much. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk about two things related to storytelling. One, she may go ahead and put your question in the chat. That's fine. The first thing I want to talk about is how to create good conflict. And then we're going to review showing details, and then we're going to work on writing a little story. So first, conflict. How do you create a story that has a good plot? How do you create characters that are believable and that people care about? All of that comes down to using these three things. Creating a character that has these three things. The key to good characterization is giving your character something that they want. Give them a goal. So give them a want. Now, the definition of want is very simple. It's what does the character want? That's their want. It gives them something to act on. Now, that can be something as simple as this character wants a piece of pizza, to something more complex, like she wants her mom to love her, or to something like she wants $1,000, or she wants to go on a cruise, or she wants freedom, or she wants to save her city, something like that. The next thing that you need to put in there, so that doesn't create a whole story, you just have someone who wants something. How to make this really good, how to make conflict in your story, is to give your character an obstacle to the thing that they want. What's preventing them from getting $1,000, from getting their mom to love them, from getting a piece of pizza? So you have, you might have, and there's lots of different obstacles you can put in. So for example, the character who wants a pizza. He wants pizza, but his friend's about to eat the last slice. He wants pizza, but he doesn't have enough money to buy any. He wants pizza, but the last slice of pizza is in the trash. So you do something like that. Or for the character who wants her mom to love her. She wants her mom to love her, but her mom doesn't know she exists. She wants her mom to love her, but her mom is abusive. She wants this, but, and then different thing. Or the character who wants $1,000. They want $1,000, but they're heavily in debt. They want $1,000, but no one will hire them. They want $1,000, but there's guards at the bank, so they can't break in and steal it. So you give them an obstacle. Then how you create what happens in your story, the action in your story, is you give your character a strategy for overcoming that obstacle. So give them a tactic, a strategy for overcoming the obstacle. So your character who wants the piece of pizza from their friend who is about to eat the last slice, their strategy might be pleading with their friend to give them the slice of pizza. Or their strategy might be to try to knock the slice of pizza out of their hand and steal it. Or their strategy might be to lick the pizza so that the person doesn't want it anymore. The person who wants their mom to love them, their strategy might be to do something nice for their mom, or to find their mom, or to, do something else. That's funny. Yeah, good. Yeah, so it is like an antagonist. It's like the obstacle is like the antagonist. It can be a person, it can be an event, it can be something, it can be an actual physical obstacle. They want to get to this city, but there's a giant mountain in the way. And then the tactic is the character strategy for overcoming that. If you give your character those three things, you can have a plot. That sets up your whole story right there. Your tactics and your obstacles can change throughout the story. You might have a character who at first thinks that they want revenge, and halfway through the story, they realize they don't want revenge. They want justice, or they want God to have control, or they want to solve the actual root of the problem. You can change what the person wants. Okay, and tactics can change the story. Maybe the character's attempt to steal the pizza fails, so they try to lick the pizza and that fails, so then they try to plead with their friend. And that creates action in different scenes in the story. Okay, the next thing I want to do is review showing and telling. So we talked about yesterday how showing is something you're using details that make the readers feel like they are in the story. They are a part of it. They can feel what the characters feel. They are emotionally and almost physically connected to these characters. If you've ever read something before where you're like, you love these two characters, I have authors who are using good showing details. So this is how you do that. You want to use good dialogue. You want to have sensory details. If you have a character who's feeling sick, you need to describe what that feels like with metaphors and analogies. Don't just say he was sick with the flu. Explain the fact that it felt like his stomach was tied in knots and his mouth was kind of in that watery stage right before you upchuck. Describe that. The taste of bile in his mouth. Yeah, now I know, oh man, he feels sick. Use description of what something looks like. Use carefully chosen details, an expression on a character's face, a small hand gesture they make, a tiny little plaque on the side of a building. Use carefully chosen details. So what does that look like? Well, if I want to show you that a character is mean, I start with the statement, she was mean. We don't really have an emotional reaction to that. We're not connected. We don't know what kind of mean she is. Like, is this mean like oppressive government mean? Or is this mean like, one time didn't say hi to you? Or is this mean like always yells at you? What kind of mean is this? So what we do is we want to show a situation that demonstrates that this person was mean. And this is going to get your reader's emotions involved in the story more. So for example, she slinked towards my table, a terrible glint in her eyes. Just as she passed by us, her hand holding her Mr. Brown purposefully tilted, spilling coffee into my spaghetti. Oh, I'm sorry, she said in her best fake sweet voice. My hand slipped. Enjoy your lunch. How do you feel about this antagonist right now? How do we feel about her based on the second one, right? Yeah, we can be annoyed at them. We want revenge on them. Like I'll throw a chair at them. We don't like her. We're just like, no. Right? You immediately feel dislike. The first one, you're kind of like, well, I don't really care. The second one, we care. Right? We want, we're like, that's not right. That's what you want to try to do in your story. You want to get your readers to react emotionally to what your character is going through, to who they are. So here's another example of that. You have a character, we're going to skip that one. Okay, you have a character who's an orphan with blonde hair and glasses. So this is an example of, I can have a whole paragraph that tells you everything, like what a character looks like, what they like, what they don't like. I can have a paragraph that does that. But if I just put all of that information into one paragraph, that's boring. I need to enfold that information on some action. If I do that, it keeps my readers interested and it makes them care about my character. So the first one, she's an orphan with blonde hair and glasses. I might feel a little bit sorry for her, but I'm actually going to have more of an emotional connection if I write it like this. As I walked in, I noticed she was staring longingly at the picture of her parents, a tear sliding down her cheek from underneath her glasses. Are you okay? I asked. Yeah, I'm fine. I raised my eyebrow. She sighed and brushed back her blonde hair. I was just wondering if they would have liked my recital today. If they could have been there. Okay, so my second one, again, more emotionally connected to what's going on in the story. I still have all the same information. We have the fact that she's staring longingly at her parents and that, they're not at her recital. Okay, that gives us the idea that she's an orphan. We have the idea that she has glasses underneath her glasses. We have the idea that she has blonde hair right there, blonde hair in the end. So we have all the same information, but my second thing is better. However, I will let you know that does take up more room. Which means if you're going to write a really good story, pay attention to this, okay? And you have to fill 6, 7, or 8 pages. For those of you thinking of writing a giant epic like Harry Potter or something, you need to make it smaller. Have your story happen within the time frame of an hour or a smaller piece of time. If you are struggling, you're like, there's no way I'm going to come up with enough to write. Think through, if I do more showing, it will take up more space and it will make people like my story more. All right, so just helpful practical hint. Okay, what I want you to do now is on a piece of paper or on a Google Doc or on a Word document, we're going to start working on the homework right now. So take the character that you created as a part of the attendance question, and I want you to write a story about them. Give that character something that they want, put an obstacle in the way, and then have them try to get something through it. But what I really want to focus on right now with this is use showing details as you tell this story. Again, your story doesn't have to be complete. It can be a simple fragment of a scene. I just want you to basically write until you hit 200 words. This is the assignment that's due tomorrow. So I want you to stay in class right now and work on this. And then at the end of class, we're going to come together and we're going to kind of share some of the things we have. All right, so go ahead, get to work. Write your story based on the character you have before. Write a story about them. And I'll be doing the same. Yeah, just pick one of them. So if you had 2 characters, just pick one. For those who got here maybe after the attendance question was asked, what I want you to do is, create a character and then write a story about a character that lives in or is somehow close to one of these places. Yeah, Jen, just write until you hit like 200 words, and then go. Don't write it in the chat. Write it on a Word document or on a piece of paper. Otherwise, because if you write it in the chat, you'll lose it, and then you'll have to start over for the homework. So the topic is one of the pictures on the screen. Oh yeah, sure, Eureka. Yeah, this is a so this is completely a creative writing thing. You can and draft version of it. You can change whatever you want. Yeah, this can be fantasy. We're still in draft stage. It can be whatever. Mine is more fantasy. The assignment is 200 words. For right now, just keep writing. Giselle, tomorrow by class time. Okay, at this point, if you want, you can post what you have in the chat for right now. I'm going to go ahead and read you what I have. So my character is an old king, kind of used to be a warrior, but now is too old to fight, kind of a guy. And here's the story I came up with. The old king stared over the water as his minister of war droned on. Not enough supplies to arm them. Plus, the southern wall is failing. The engineers are working to repair the gap, but the king sighed. Years ago, he would have donned his own armor and been at the front lines. Now he had to leave that sort of fighting to younger men. How could he protect the city? He knew he didn't have the resources to fight much longer, but he couldn't just surrender to the Parthians. The last city that had done that had been demolished, its people dragged off in chains, its city officers brutally executed in the streets. No, he couldn't let that happen. So, what should we do, sir? The minister finally concluded. The king didn't answer right away. Instead, he paced slowly to the other window that overlooked the city below. A mother sat at the palace gates, holding her infant in her arms. Her rags didn't seem like they would be enough to keep her warm in the coming winter. A boy raced past them, clearly on some important errand. It would have been normal, except he looked far too thin, and his head was wrapped in a bandage, probably from a battle wound. The bakery across the street from the palace was closed. There was no grain for bread. The king sighed again, and absent-mindedly ran his finger across the front of the simple golden circlet that was his crown. Sir, the minister of war pressed. The king's decision was made. It will have to be done. Sir, I will seek out the Watcher. The minister's brown eyes widened in shock. Only the most desperate sought after the Watcher. True, her powerful magic could solve almost any problem. The price. Most consider it too terrible to even think about. Your Majesty, there must be some other way. Surely our allies. No, they won't come, the king said, shaking his head. No, we can't rely on help from them. That's where I stopped. But I had a longer time to write than you, so I came up with a lot more from this morning. Nice. I'm seeing a lot of stories in here. Good. I'm going to read. I'll read them. So, in the depths of a 1,000-year-old cave, a wizard lurks in, planning to take over the kingdom. No, I'm just kidding. He's trying to take revenge on the king for banishing him out of his castle. You see, the sorcerer got jealous of the king when he became, the king. So he devised a plan to take over the kingdom. He sent an assassin to kill the king. He failed. The king banished him. Now he lives in a cave. Hooray! No, not hooray. The cave was full of bats and spiders and stuff. So he used magic to get rid of them. Then he made himself a home. Hooray! Nope, still not hooray. After what the king did to him, he wanted revenge. So he made spells to prepare to face the king. Oh, and I forgot to mention, The king and the sorcerer are brothers. I'm going to stop that one there. That's good. Let me read maybe one more. Okay. One day, a little boy lived near a town called Henshire, and there was a place that was forbidden in that town. It was a hill that held a dark and eerie cave, known to hold a family of ogres, and in the cave held some gold that people had been trying to take back, but had failed. The little boy named Jonathan and his mom lived in the town, and his mom used to tell him the most gruesome stories about the cruel ogres. The stories that his mom told him were about people who used to go down to the cave once a year and would come back without a leg or an arm. That's a good one. Okay, one more. He was getting ready as the abyss under the creaky and rotten bridge was looking at him, staring at him, filling him with fear. He put his foot on the first plank as the bridge wobbled slowly. A piece eaten by time fell as he kept walking, and another behind him. He saw the other side right within his reach, and he kept walking. And then, without even realizing the rope attached to the cliff before him snapped, he grabbed the bridge as it fell and hit the cliff wall with a thud. He climbed his way up and got to the last plank. He knew he could make it, but what he didn't know was that the bridge was hanging on by just a single piece of rope. Very good. There's more. There's more to that one too. Guys, excellent work. Good job. Okay, Mr. Moore. That's all the time we have for today. I'll read through what you guys have here. Wow, excellent. Excellent work. Okay, so we are going to submit. Make sure you submit what you have to turnitin.com. If you already hit 200 words, that's great. By the way, you don't have to individually count the words. Microsoft Word and Google Docs will do that for you. All right, you just look at the bottom of the screen, it has it listed. All right, but otherwise, that's it for class today. Make sure you get that homework done. Yeah, that's totally allowed for the homework today. What we just did, use for the homework. That's the whole point. Yeah, you can definitely go over 200 words. All right, you guys are dismissed unless you have other questions, and then otherwise you can stay here. Rebecca, yeah, if you really like what you've just done, you can definitely use it for the final story. We're still going to do some more of these types of prompts, but if you decide that after we do more of them that nope, this is the one, then yeah, just do this one. Someone else asked, wait. Yes, you're allowed to go over. Oh, something. No, you don't have to finish the story. If you get to 200 words, you can, like, honestly, you can just stop wherever it is and just go. Like mine, I would just turn in right there. Yeah, it's not really as bad as you think it is, right? Like, it's hard, but it's kind of fun. It's not that bad once you kind of get going. Any other questions anyone has? Was it really? That's exciting. Keeper of the Lost Cities is going to be a movie? Eric, do you mean like I as in the point of view is I, or I as in literally the main character is Eric Moon? Yes. Oh yeah, so like the point of view, yeah, it can be in first person. That's totally fine. I don't know the website Eureka. It doesn't give me the time that the spelling bee ends. It just gives me the date. So I don't know what time. So I would take it sooner rather than later, so you don't run out of time. Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't give me a time, and I was like, well, what? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, have a good day. Caleb, Fernando, Giacomo, Roger, any questions? All right, sweet. All right, bye. Roger, anything? Any questions?